Amid the stalemate in the war in West Asia, U.S. media reports say that Washington is weighing new military strikes on Iran. The reports come just hours after U.S. President Donald Trump skipped his son's wedding, saying that it was important for him to remain in Washington. Well, amid these reports, Trump has reiterated that the war with Iran will be over soon. Speaking during an election campaign rally in New York, Trump said that Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. The issue of nuclear weapons is among the key sticking points of Iran-U.S. negotiations.
They said, why? I said, because Iran is going to have a nuclear weapon if we don't stop them. And I said, we're going to have to do it. And we have stopped them. They're not going to ever have a nuclear weapon. They're never going to have a nuclear weapon. And we'll have that over with soon. It'll be over with soon. And
amid these developments, Pakistan's Army Chief Asim Munir arrived in Tehran, where he met with Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. According to a statement by the Iranian state media, both sides exchanged views on the latest efforts and diplomatic initiatives to prevent escalation. Earlier, Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghei had cautioned that Munir's visit, it does not mean that the two sides have reached a turning point or a decisive situation. Further, Iranian media quoted Baghei as saying that disagreements between Iran and the US were so deep and extensive that it was not certain that a deal can be reached within a few weeks or even months. Baghei also added that key issues including ending the war on all fronts and naval blockade in the Strait of Hormuz are still under discussion. Separately, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said that there has been some progress in talks, but has at the same time cautioned that Washington was not there yet. Speaking to reporters after a NATO ministers' meeting in Sweden, Rubio emphasized that more work needs to be done. Listen to this.
Yeah, I said the same thing. I can't believe I said the same thing that the Iranians did. There's been some progress. I wouldn't exaggerate it. I wouldn't diminish it. There's more work to be done, but look, yeah, there's been some, and that's a good sign. I'm glad they said that. We're not there yet. I hope we get there. The president would prefer to do a good deal.
Further, Rubio warned that while President Trump prefers a negotiated diplomatic solution, he has expressed concern that perhaps a deal is not possible. Rubio added that if things do not change, then Trump has other options on the table.
Yeah, and hopefully that'll change. It may not. Honestly, it may not. We're dealing with a very difficult group of people. And if it doesn't change, then the president's been clear. He has other options. He prefers the negotiated option and having a good deal. But he himself has expressed, concern that maybe that's not possible. But we're going to keep trying. I know our guys are still working on that very hard. So.
Furthermore, European Union nations have moved towards sanctions on Iranian officials for the continued blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. While the EU has not named any individual or entities who will be targeted by the new sanctions, the move is being seen as a step towards expanding the scope of its current sanctions on Iran. In other development, one of the world's largest defense shows, the Royal International Air Tattoo, has been cancelled due to the Iran war, and the defense show was scheduled for July 17th to 19th in the UK. And to discuss more, we were earlier joined by Asha Castleberry, who's a U.S. national security and foreign policy expert, and this is what she had to say. Listen in.
I think it's definitely on the table for two reasons. One is, I must say that looking at the internal political developments that just recently happened, where Congress was very close to passing a war resolution act or a war powers resolution, that definitely stood out more in terms of what has happened recently with regards to making it through Congress. And then also we have to take into account the gas prices. The pain at the pump keeps going up, and more Americans are becoming more frustrated about it, especially as we are enduring a national affordability crisis. And then as far as the Strait of Hormuz, I mean, it's like a stalemate. Yes, we have a U.S. blockade, but there's still some significant critical threat levels for the United States. There has been some cargo ships that have been able to navigate through the Strait of Hormuz, but it's still at a significant low rate. And then we're still seeing that very little contributions from the international community. So I think all these different factors is what's pressuring President Trump to consider a more defense approach moving forward.